Welcome, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. Imani cheated on Tom, laughed in his face about it, and then toasted his uselessness at a family cookout while everybody watched. She didn't even lower her voice. She made sure the shame landed in public, like a slap that echoed. Tom stood there with a paper plate, pretending the ribs were interesting, pretending the laughter wasn't aimed straight at his chest. Later that night, she filed first, cleaned out chunks of their joint account, and told anyone who'd listen he was dead weight. Here's how it happened. Tom met Imani in Atlanta at a friend's game night that turned into a loud, joyful mess of spades, dominoes, and somebody's auntie calling everybody baby, whether she knew them or not. Imani wore a yellow sundress and laughed like she meant it. Tom was the quiet funny, the kind that drops one line and has the whole room wheezing 10 seconds later. When Imani looked at him and said, "You don't talk much, do you?" he answered, "I'm saving my word for rent and groceries." She laughed so hard she spilled punch. Their first date was at a little spot near Old Fourth Ward. Tom tried to play it cool and ended up ordering something he couldn't pronounce. Imani didn't clown him. She leaned in and whispered, "You gon' eat it anyway." He did. It was spicy enough to humble him into honesty. They talked about everything. Her love of R&B, his love of early morning quiet, her habit of collecting scented candles like they were investments. When he walked her to her car, he offered his hoodie because it got chilly. She took it and never gave it back. The romance had that soft, ridiculous shine at first. They sang in the car like they were headlining a tour, screaming the wrong lyrics with full confidence. Tom learned that Imani's 5-minute store run meant 45 minutes and 2 bags of stuff she didn't plan to buy. Imani learned Tom folded towels like he was preparing them for a magazine shoot. They took a weekend trip to Savannah, walked along River Street, and held hands like it was the most natural thing in the world. Tom thought, "I could build a life with this." When Tom proposed, it wasn't flashy. It was private in their apartment after a long day. He cooked her favorite salmon, rice, and those greens she liked with enough garlic to keep problems away. He got down on one knee in the living room while the TV played a rerun in the background. Imani cried, laughed, and said yes before he even finished his sentence. Later, she posted a picture of her ring, and the comments flooded in like confetti. Tom smiled, but even then he noticed something. Her family's congratulations sounded like applause for her, not for them. The first time Tom met the Jacksons, it was a Sunday dinner in Decatur. Her mom, Ms. Jackson, looked him up and down like he was an appliance with a questionable warranty. Her dad barely spoke, just did that slow nod men do when they're deciding whether you count. Her brother made jokes about Tom's job like it wasn't real money. Tom kept his manners anyway. He brought dessert. He offered to wash dishes. He laughed at the right moments. On the ride home, Imani said they'll warm up. Tom wanted to believe her. Marriage started sweet, then got busy. Tom worked hard. Steady job, consistent checks, nothing glamorous but solid. Imani liked nicer things, and Tom tried to meet her halfway. He didn't mind treating her, but he did mind being treated like his effort didn't matter. Still, they had good moments. Movie nights on the couch, dancing in the kitchen while the food burned a little. Those late-night talks about kids, vacations, a house with a backyard. Tom believed love was something you maintained, like a garden. He didn't realize somebody else was quietly pulling weeds from the wrong side. The shift wasn't one big explosion, it was little cuts. Imani started guarding her phone like it was a paycheck. She started staying out with the girls, coming home smiling and distant. Tom would ask how her night went, and she'd give him a short answer, then turn over in bed like the conversation was a chore. When he planned a date, she'd say she was tired. But when her friends called, suddenly she had energy. Tom tried not to assume. He tried to be the calm husband, the secure husband. It felt like he was trying alone. The humiliation started as jokes, then stopped being jokes. At family gatherings, Ms. Jackson would ask, loud enough for everyone to hear, "So, Tom, you still doing that little job?" Her dad would say, "A man's supposed to lead," then look Tom in the eyes like he wasn't. Imani didn't defend him. Sometimes she even joined in, laughing like she wasn't married to him. Tom would smile to keep the peace, then feel sick on the drive home. He'd tell himself, they'll get used to me. She'll stand up for me when it counts. But the day it counted, she used the moment to bury him. The cookout in Decatur was hot, loud, and full of people who loved to talk. Tom grilled. He flipped burgers, made sure the kids ate first, handed out plates, did all the quiet husband stuff that never gets applause. Imani floated around in a new outfit Tom hadn't seen before. Hair done, nails fresh, perfume strong. Somebody said, "Imani, you look good." She smiled and said, "I had to glow up. Some men will dim your light." And then she lifted her cup and hit him with that line about satisfaction, while everybody laughed. Tom felt his face burn, but he kept it together. That's the thing about being humiliated in a room full of folks. You're not just hurt, you're trapped. If you react, you're emotional. If you don't, you look weak. Tom forced a laugh that didn't belong to him. Later, in the car, he asked her why she did that. Imani rolled her eyes and said he was being sensitive. "If you were more of a man," she said, "you wouldn't be acting like this." She told him he was lucky she stayed with him at all. That night, Tom didn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, listening to Imani breathe like nothing happened. When he finally asked again, quietly, without yelling, whether there was someone else, she laughed. Not nervous, not guilty, just amused. "You can't compete," she said. "You barely keep up with the bills." That's when Tom understood. She wasn't just cheating. She was rewriting him into a villain so she could feel clean. He felt something crack, not into rage, but into clarity. If she wanted to play dirty, Tom would stop playing blind. Tom started paying attention, not stalking, not spiraling, just noticing. Receipts left in the car. Charges that didn't match the story. A hotel notification that popped up on their shared tablet by accident. Imani snatched the tablet so fast she almost dropped it. "Mind your business," she said. Tom nodded like okay. Inside, he was shaking. He'd always believed love meant trust. Now trust felt like an empty pocket. So Tom did what he could control. He opened a folder on his laptop and started saving screenshots. Dates, times, locations, quietly, patiently, like a man building a lifeboat while the ship still looked fine. The funny part, because life is cruel like that, is that Tom still had romantic moments with her while she was doing him wrong. He'd bring her lunch at work, and she'd kiss his cheek like he was a good dog. He'd plan a small weekend in Savannah again, hoping to revive something real. On the drive there, she held his hand and sang along to old love songs. And for 2 hours, Tom almost forgot the dread. At the hotel, she took pictures in the mirror, smiling bright. Then she fell asleep early, phone face down, and Tom lay awake feeling like a stranger in his own marriage. A week later, she stopped pretending. She started staying out without excuses. When Tom asked where she'd been, she said, "Outside." When he asked who she was with, she said, "Not you." She'd come home smelling like a different soap, humming like her life was easy. Tom felt himself shrinking in the space they used to share. He still went to work, still paid what he could, still tried to keep the home steady. And somehow, that steadiness became another reason they called him weak. Ms. Jackson said he let her run him. Like Tom's kindness was a flaw. Then the money started moving. It wasn't all at once. It was careful, like somebody thought about it. Cash withdrawals after midnight. Transfers labeled like bills, but going somewhere Tom didn't recognize. Charges at Lenox Square, designer stores, ride shares across town at strange hours. Tom would check the account, feel his stomach drop, then watch Imani spend like nothing mattered. When he brought it up, she snapped, "You don't control me." She said he was broke anyway. So why did it matter? Tom wanted to scream. Instead, he saved the statements and kept his voice calm. He was learning silence can be strategy. Imani filed first like she was proud of it. The paper showed up like an insult in an envelope. She stood in the doorway and watched him read them, smiling with no softness in her eyes. She told him she wanted the apartment, the car, and support because he didn't contribute emotionally. It sounded like a joke until he saw it typed out. Then her family got involved, loud and confident, like they'd been waiting for this. Ms. Jackson called Tom and said, "Pack your stuff and go. You've been dead weight." Her dad said, "A man who can't keep his wife deserves to be left." The abandonment wasn't just physical, it was social. Friends picked sides. Couples they used to double date with suddenly got busy. Imani told people Tom was controlling, jealous, and cheap. She made him sound like a monster who deserved whatever happened. Tom heard the rumors through the grapevine like secondhand smoke, unavoidable and suffocating. Meanwhile, he slept on a cousin's couch in southwest Atlanta, staring at the ceiling fan and wondering how a person can be married and still end up homeless in their own city. He cried quietly so nobody could hear. Then he got up and went to work anyway. The court process felt like getting judged twice, once by your spouse and once by strangers who only know your life through paperwork. Tom's anxiety lived in his chest like a drum. Imani walked into court looking polished, supported by her parents like a squad. Tom walked in alone, carrying a neat folder that didn't look heavy but felt like his whole heart. Imani's lawyer talked like Tom was a burden that finally got thrown away. They called him irresponsible, said he failed as a provider, said he was bitter and making things up because he couldn't keep his wife. Every word was designed to shrink him. Tom didn't fight them with emotion. He'd already learned emotion was the trap. At home, emotion made Imani smirk. Around her family, emotion made them laugh. In court, emotion could make him look unstable. So he sat still, hands folded, eyes forward. He let the insults pass over him like weather. But inside, he remembered every time he paid groceries, every time he fixed something in the apartment, every overtime shift, every quiet sacrifice. He remembered Imani laughing at him at the cookout. And he remembered the folder in his bag, his lifeboat, the timeline, the truth, the part they couldn't talk over. When it was Tom's turn, he stood up slow, not dramatic, not shaking, just steady. He spoke briefly and respectfully. Then he slid the folder to his attorney, who handed it over. The judge opened it and started flipping through. The room changed. It wasn't loud. It was that sudden quiet where you can hear somebody's shoe scrape the floor and it sounds like thunder. The judge's eyes moved from page to page, and Tom watched Imani's face. She didn't look scared. She looked annoyed, like the court was wasting her time. Her parents sat stiff, arms crossed, prepared to deny reality with confidence. The judge asked questions that sounded simple, but hit like bricks. "Ms. Jackson," he said, "can you explain these hotel charges in Buckhead during dates you claim to be at work?" Imani shrugged. "I deserve nice things," she said. The judge turned another page. "And these rideshare charges at 1:12 a.m., 1:47 a.m., 2:03 a.m.? Imani's mother muttered under her breath, something sharp and disrespectful. Her father smirked like none of this mattered. Imani didn't apologize. She didn't soften. She stared forward like she was still the victim in her own story. Then the judge reached the transfers. The timeline showed money moving out of the joint account to an undisclosed account. Consistent amounts, consistent timing, like a plan. The judge asked whose account it was. Imani's lawyer hesitated. Tom's stomach twisted, but he stayed still. The paperwork had the name and the link. Ms. Jackson was a co-signer. The judge paused and looked up, directly at Imani and then at her mother. "You understand," he said, "that concealment of assets affects credibility and distribution." Ms. Jackson didn't look ashamed. She looked angry, like she'd been caught, but still believed she was entitled to steal. The ruling wasn't revenge, it was consequences. The judge denied spousal support. He addressed dissipation of marital assets. He ordered disclosures and recalculated what Imani thought she'd walk away with. He didn't lecture them. He didn't raise his voice. He just corrected the story with facts. Tom felt something heavy lift, not because he won a prize, but because somebody official finally saw what he lived through. Imani's face stayed cold. No remorse. No apology. Her parents didn't even pretend to feel bad. They walked out looking like they wanted to blame Tom for being prepared. But the paperwork didn't care about their pride. Outside the courthouse, Tom didn't celebrate. He sat in his car and exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. His hands shook, and he laughed once, soft and disbelieving, because it was wild that simple screenshots could protect a whole life. He texted his cousin. It went okay, like it was a normal day. Then he drove to a quiet parking lot and ate a cheap sandwich, staring at nothing. He didn't feel happy yet. He felt emptied out. Justice doesn't always bring joy. Sometimes it just returns your ability to stand up straight. Tom wiped his face, threw the wrapper away, and decided he wasn't going back to the person he was before. Tom moved to Houston, Texas, not to run away, but to reset. New city, new routines, fewer ghosts. He got a modest apartment and set it up clean, nothing fancy, just peaceful. He opened accounts in his name only. He built a budget like a fence around his future. He started going on morning walks and letting his thoughts untangle. Sometimes he'd pass couples holding hands and feel that old ache. Other times he'd hear a song they used to love and have to pull over in the car because grief hit him like a wave. He let it hurt. He stopped pretending it didn't. Healing, for him, looked quiet and stubborn. Funny moments came back slowly, like his spirit was testing the air. He burned dinner one night and told himself, "At least nobody can say I'm controlling the stove." He tried online dating and immediately regretted it when someone messaged, "You got a passport?" like it was a personality. He deleted the apps, laughed at himself, and went back to his routines. At work, he kept his head down and did his job well. He wasn't trying to glow up for Imani. He was trying to become unbreakable in private. He started reading about finances, boundaries, and legal basics, things he wished someone had taught him before love got complicated. A year into Houston, Tom met Ariel at a bookstore cafe. She was black, warm-eyed, and wore her hair in a puff like she didn't care who approved. Tom reached for the same chair she did, and they did that awkward, polite shuffle, both saying "my bad" at the same time. Ariel laughed and said, "Look at us, apologizing like it's our job." Tom joked, "I'm certified. I got a degree in sorry." That made her laugh harder. It wasn't fireworks. It was ease. They talked about books, family, work, and the kind of peace you can't fake. When Tom told her he moved for a fresh start, she didn't dig for details. She just said, "I respect that." Their romance stayed gentle, with boundaries Tom actually honored. He didn't rush. He didn't perform. He learned how to be loved without begging for it. Ariel liked simple dates, tacos, museums, walks by the water. One night, they cooked together, and Tom accidentally dropped a whole container of rice on the floor. He froze like he expected yelling. Ariel blinked, then said, "Okay, so the floor eating tonight." Tom started laughing, real laughter, until his sides hurt. Later, she took his hand and said, "You don't have to brace yourself here." Tom realized he'd been bracing for years. That realization felt like romance, too. The moral lesson Tom carried wasn't love is fake. It was sharper and kinder than that. Love without respect is a slow kind of violence, and you can't heal in a place that enjoys your pain. Tom never got an apology from Imani or her parents. They stayed the same, cold, proud, and convinced they were right. But karma didn't need remorse to do its work. It only needed truth and a timeline. Tom's success stayed private. Better role, steadier money, calmer mornings, a partner who didn't shame him. No speeches, no viral posts. Just a man who stopped being deadweight, the moment he stopped carrying people who wanted him drowning. If you love stories that make you gasp, laugh, and whisper "no way" in the same minute, hit subscribe because the next one is even worse.